year later, we started coming out, and people wandered around. And I didn't know what I was going to do, trying to find a place to survive. One day, I heard a voice. It's hard to explain, but it was like it was coming from inside of me. But I could hear it as clear as I could hear you talking to me now.
What did this voice say?
It told me the path would be laid out for me, told me that I'd be protected against anyone or anything that stood in my path. I've been walking ever since.
And you did all that because a voice in your head told you to?
Yes, I did. I know what I heard. I know what I hear. I know I'm not crazy. And I know I would have never made it without help.
Friends in the physical, spiritual, individual. Faith follow our work, so we healing them with the syllables. Third eye vision will teach a mystical principle. Knowledge up from the rooted and given unto the simple. Overactive imagination, they medicated and dissipated. Expect the worst and exaggerated. I'm frustrated, where we're headed is not where we've been. Caligula, we're at the hands of the fallen men. Righteous teachers were given wisdom like Solomon. I got my pen and write blessings that will bind us to. And I feel it like I'm feeling the wind. I want the water, look back and start over again. Stimulate your mind, you seek and you will find the kingdom that's inside. Wake up and realize you need nothing that's outside. The blind leading the blind, Pharisees and false scribes. Religion will only find. But truth is the mystic mind. One begins to prophesy. Truth the visions well inside. Resonate and start to shine. To a place where I reside. Ancient ways to space and time. Jacob's ladder, I will climb deeper to the the truth is the mystic mind, one begins to prophesy. Truth the visions well inside, resonate and start to shine. To a place where I reside, ancient ways to space, don't climb deeper to the mystic mind. Got me contemplating what to do in this situation. I close my eyes and realize within my meditation, conversation with God. I'm sitting up in higher places, great sensation. I'm changing paces, illumination. So face it, can we look within and find the light inside? If we believe we're created in the image of God, my soul will never rest until I'm second best. I was never made to harbor and carry the stress. Burning stage, cut the wave, but the data wave. In a blurry haze, making money and getting paid. In a mental maze, wake the sleepers up from the graves. Cause the time was changed, let's regress to the ancient ways. Most high praise, the one who is and the one who was it, all divine being. Who sends us light and sends us love. Thoughts were into your psyche, embedded deep into the mind. Writing pages of revelation, just like the prophet John. When truth is the mystic mind, one begins to prophesy. Truth the visions well inside, resonate and start to shine. To a place where I reside, ancient ways to space and time. Jacob's ladder, I will climb deeper to the mystic mind. Truth is the mystic mind, one begins to prophesy. Truth the visions well inside, resonate and start to shine. To a place where I reside, ancient ways to space and time. Jacob's ladder, I will climb deeper to the mystic mind. Consciousness evolves and elevates to a higher state. Feel like I'm dreaming when I'm awake. And my mama thoughts be creeping, speaking to me while I'm sleeping. Gotta be angels and listen to demons, angels whisper, demons screaming, seeming and plotting, trigger deceiving and mocking my mission, wishing my inner vision diminished, but I've been commissioned. Vicious and conversating, waiting, remaining patient while I'm facing, embracing situations back to the basics. So face it, let's remember who we are, not who we were. Even though the past is so distant, all you see is a blur. Never know what the future holds, never know what the future brings. And if I can listen and barely of all the former things, salvation within our grasp, a new song that will sing. If you gain the world in the end, it won't mean a thing. Death to the kingdom established, it's time to end your reign. Fire will burn, cause the world and all the truth remains. The truth is the mystic mind, one begins to prophesy. Truth the visions well inside, resonate and start to shine. To a place where I reside, ancient ways to space and time. Jacob's ladder, I will climb deeper to the mystic mind. The truth is the mystic mind, one begins to prophesy. Truth the visions well inside, resonate and start to shine. To a place where I reside, ancient ways to space and time. Jacob's ladder, I will climb deeper to the mystic mind.
You cannot be afraid of any question or any concept. You don't say, oh, when you say God, I don't like that. No, you're comfortable with everything because everything comes from the same place. You don't say, oh, I don't believe in this, I don't believe in that, or I like this. No, 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 because it shows that there is a strong conditioning still operating effectively. But something is able to flex and to see that in the manifest world, the manifold world, It is just appearances in consciousness, and I can locate my consciousness in affinity with every point of view. I can see it's okay. It's okay. It's
okay. Okay, peace. Welcome to the broadcast. We have a special guest today. Just waiting on him to come in. Just give me a few minutes. Welcome to the School of Understanding. I am your host, Brother Blue. And just a few minutes and our special guest will be here. So today we'll be dealing with God, consciousness, non-duality, with our special guest, Tiger Dragon Storm. And I found this brother on YouTube, excellent brother who speaks the truth with clarity. And so I invited him, to come on and give us a, some insight into his understanding and his knowledge. So I see the brother is on. Well, I believe he's on. Hopefully we'll be able to get into this. Just a few minutes. Are you there, brother? Well, he was with us. So just give him a few minutes. Hopefully I can resend the invite. If you're on with us, I think you have to press the unmute button at the top of your screen. There you go. Press the unmute microphone button. Yeah, this is our first time actually doing this, so just give us a few minutes to get everything together. Yeah, it seems like you're unmuted. Can you hear me? If you can hear me, let me know through a message on Facebook. Okay. So why can I not hear you? I'm wondering. Unmute microphone. I'm not sure why I can't hear you. Let's see, what's the problem here? I'm not sure. I don't know. I'll give you a few minutes because if you could hear me, I should be able to hear you. Let me see. So you can hear me. I don't want to screen share. I'm not sure. Are you on a computer or your phone? Maybe let me kick you out and then resend the invite. See if that'll work. Let me try to resend it. Just give us a few minutes. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Shouldn't take that long. I guess I'll play some music till we get him back in here. Few minutes, fellas. phone acting up. Everything's acting up. So yes, this brother, like I said, he expounds on non-duality clearly, and that's what I liked about the brother. So I invited him on to teach about, you know, the nature of God or Christ or Buddha. So Lord willing, he'll come back in. Let me see. Not doing anything. Let's give us a few seconds. Has it been 15 minutes?
Let me ask you something. Do you think your car insurance rate is
All right, just wait as we wait for him.
Hope is what makes us strong. It is why we are here. It is what we fight with when all else is lost. What's the purpose of depression and worthless sentiments? Our worth is infinite, hope is within. We're potent kin, but they dope us with sins. The only reason for living is to grow and envision the scope of our givens. Breathe and kiss the ethers, kindred, we're so limitless. I read this for Ethra like I'm speaking the Gita. Karma from Nila, Rama and Sita. That's the basis of hoping, like and paintings from Hopis, the Tibetan monks. I flick each mala bead from the blessed stump of a tree. Reach the bliss of Tara's being. Leave Mara's regions and Samsara's demons. Samskara breeds karma, but I'm haric teachings from Jaz Rastas free me. I'm a beacon to the needy like Pratyahara from Kalachakra Tantra. Om Shanti is my mantra. My flows glow with yantras like smoking ganja. Hope comes from Chaitanya, not from Shaitan. Don't be slaves and pawns to your graves. Hope is what makes us strong. It is why we are here. It is what we fight with when all else is lost. Call on hell and the cost is your soul and your sanity. I'm lonely in my vanity, yet I'm shy in presence. The skies are my brethren, the stars are my watchers like Nephilim giants. Rephaims from Orion, Egyptian Anakims and Mayans. Sannyasins and tyrants battle to the death, but death isn't the ending. It's just the bending of time and space till they meet and greet each other's feet. Seek the mother of peace, you'll find hope in the midst. Potent bliss, but most dismiss her while jokers try to grope and kiss her, then rape her like Mars with Venus. Wars in our genus, but there's gods in our genes, and our bars are the dreams of Vishnu. Cosmically breathing crystals, believing isn't wishful. He brought this universe into being as God was drifting and he met the goddess exquisite. Together they explored the mists of the ocean, drifted and coasted until they found solace and founded an island on the shores of a galaxy smiling. That's what makes us strong.
All right, brother, can you hear me? Okay, I can't hear you again. You said your mic is in. Try to unplug your mic. Anything? No? I don't know why I can't hear you. Huh? You said something? I should be able to hear you. I don't see anything preventing you from speaking. Unless it's, let me see. So you, okay. Are you on a laptop? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what the problem is. Hmm. Let me see. Yeah, it might work on your phone better. Let me see. I wonder if you have to have Google Hangouts on your phone. You think you have Google Hangouts on your phone? Okay. Okay. And then I'll send you the link. Because I think the first time I did it, I couldn't get into a chat. I had to use my phone. I think there's a chat over here. Group chat. Let me see. Did you see that? I think I heard something. What'd you just do? No? Yeah, there you go. Okay. Yeah, I guess let me see, I'm thinking. Maybe I should start this show over and just send you an invite when you download it on your phone. Are you in are you okay, you said you'll download it. Let me see. Okay. Man, I wonder why I can't hear you. Okay, you're in this hangout. Conversation. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Unplugging mic didn't work. Just let me know when you get it, and I'll try to send you a link. Okay.
Me?
There you go.
Finally.
All right. All right. You hear me? Okay.
Can you hear me still?
Good. All right. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, cool.
So let me start over. Okay. So again, the reason I invited this brother on is because as I came into this understanding, well, I wouldn't call it an understanding, but this should I say awakening. I was searching for others who were teaching it. I ran into this brother YouTube channel about a month ago. So I just wanted to say he also has a book out that's online called A Journey Back to Self, 101 Meditations and Quotes for Awakening Your Buddha Nature.
It's working. Your microphone's working. Sorry.
Hey, no, yeah, it's all right.
Sorry. Yeah, I heard you. I appreciate that, brother.
No problem. And so again, just welcome. I'm glad you came on the channel with me, man. I see your work on YouTube, and I just like the clarity that you expound this truth with. And so I just wanted to, interview. I've never interviewed anybody before, and so I was starting a new channel, and I wanted to, bring this knowledge to people who I formerly dealt with. And I only say formally because I'm no longer in that prism of thought, meaning I no longer, you know, take on the thought that I used to have. So I wanted to interview you and bring your knowledge to light, should I say.
No problem.
Yes.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. First thing I wanted to ask you is, about the journey of your body mind. Tell me how your journey, how you were brought into this realization,
Yeah, so of course it's interesting talking of non-duality. Essentially is an impossible task because of course all words are dualistic. But to speak of the journey of the character that is my body mind, it went through the new age stuff, the magic, the chakras, the energy healing, the one must raise their vibration, one must think positive thoughts. It went through all of that. But each form of spirituality that I used or did never ever felt sufficient. I mean, it seemed like all the teachers were teaching from a place of ego. I mean, like straight, my way is the right way, that's it, end of story. When I would have questions and the teacher would only say to me, oh, it's just a contradiction, deal with it. But that wasn't enough for me. One day, this is quite funny to me because I was trying to work out what Kundalini is. Kundalini, everyone talks about Kundalini. You need it to awaken, you need Kundalini. There was this energy feeling inside my body that I thought, okay, maybe this is Kundalini. Let me go on YouTube, let me check what people are saying about Kundalini. I found this teacher who had a student asking him the question, Kundalini, I had this Kundalini experience. What does it mean? And the teacher replied something like, Kundalini is baby stuff. What is observing the energy rising? And I thought, what kind of rubbish, terrible answer is that? Kundalini is real, it's amazing, it's this. He said it's baby stuff. Kundalini is observed. What is that which is observing the Kundalini? And for me, that was a complete paradigm shift in understanding. And to be honest, I thought the teacher did not know what he was talking about. It just seemed too easy. The teacher, I'm sure you've heard of him, is Muji. Okay. So I'm like, yeah, nah, this guy, he doesn't know what he's talking about. But of course, something pulls you back. When there's truth being spoken, it's impossible to ignore it. Your mind will want to ignore it because the mind is living in fear constantly. But the heart will be drawn back to truth. So I was watching more videos. It didn't take long for me to understand what he was pointing at. Pointing at the essence of that which experiences experience. And then, yeah, so I was watching a lot of him. I even went to, with my partner, one event he did in London. That was amazing. And then where are we? 2018. So last summer, early last summer. Early last summer, my whole world fell apart. I was simply in my bedroom putting on my trousers. And in the instant, a flash that was somehow not in time, but in time. A flash of my whole life, what I thought was my life, was spread out in front of me. I'm like, whoa, I'm not who I thought I was. Everything I thought I was existed within one thought. All this just knowing just instantly hit me, instantly. More instant than instant because it's always been there. One has always been that, as we all are that. So to say instant would almost say there's some time, but it's not even time, it's not even instant, it's just the nature. I walked around my local town, seeing everybody, seeing clearly for the first time that all people are just expressions of this consciousness. There is no, it sounds weird to say to people who are new to this type of talking, but there is no mind in a body. I could just perceive it. It was just a knowing. Like, it's just as you look at a toy and not say, oh, the toy has thoughts. We are all the arms and legs of consciousness of God in its many different forms. And there were many realizations that happened with this, and it was just beautiful to have the instant knowing as well that there is no I'm better than you, you're better than me. From a king to a queen to a beggar, there is no hierarchy through the eyes of the all. Of course, because we are all just that single consciousness manifesting in different forms. So from having that awakening and deepening in it, trying to understand what it was, I just could not go back to the so-called, I didn't know it was called this, but so-called New Age spirituality movement. I deleted everything I was speaking about on Facebook prior. I used to speak about spirituality. I deleted all my old videos, not in a way of shame, not at all. It was just, I know truth now. You know, I don't want to say like an absolute way, because everything is relative, speaking, full stop. But I just know in my essence that I need to be speaking of this. I need to help direct people to that which they are, the essence. All the experiences of chakras and kundalini is secondary. What's primary? So yeah. In a nutshell.
Definitely. That right there reminds me of my journey. You know,
nice.
Everything you said from going to the through the magic. I was trying to do telekinesis. You know, because I first started in the Bible. Because the Lord took my journey. I wasn't even in the Bible at first. I was just in the world. You know, I was an atheist.
Okay.
And around 2010, I don't know if I was watching like Illuminati stuff or something. And you know how a lot of those Illuminati videos say, you know, at the end they'll say Revelations, the devil deceived the whole world or something like that. So I was like, if we all deceived, let me look in this book. So it took me through the Bible, which I started looking through a Bible through still a personal view, you know, and so I believe, you know, keeping the laws of God and believing in Christ and all that. And so a group I was a part of started studying Gandhi, because Gandhi walked similar to Christ, you know. And so I was like, well, okay, if Gandhi could have all this self-control, why is it I'm reading this book and I don't have that self-control? You know what I'm saying? I can't lead a revolution of people to free a country. You know what I'm saying? And so what happened was I said, well, let me see what Gandhi was reading. So I picked up the Bhagavad Gita, you know. And once I read the Gita, that's what really changed me. I'm like, oh my This is speaking about the same thing, because what I was preaching is just, you got to believe in God and the Bible, and that's it. But then when I picked up that book, that opened my eyes to a whole new world. That, hey, they're speaking, I mean, in a more clear way than even the scriptures, of how to control the senses, and what is it that all these things happen in, so that led me to pick up the Upanishads and things like this. So I picked up these books, but still, that was just a beginning, and then I started to get into the esoteric teachings, and then that's when I started to delve into, esoteric teachings, the New Age stuff. I know I had a channel where I was doing telekinesis, thinking, Jesus healed people, so if I get all these things, I heal people. I'm doing.
Brother, you're mirroring my journey. You are mirroring me. I know. Same telekinesis, hydrokinesis. I wanted to be, Power Ranger.
Yeah. That's why when you said that, it was a mirror of what I went through, and so. And I found out, I mean, I was still lacking something, And then I started to find, even when you were talking about Moody, I knew Moody, when you said about the Kundalini, because I watched that video where Moody said Kundalini is just, that's nothing. So I knew I was going to tell you why. Yeah, baby stuff. Even at one point I was thinking about Kundalini. I need to, sit in a straight posture and rise out my energy so I can get this enlightenment. You know what I'm saying? So all that
posture,
yes, all this. But even all of my brothers, which we were pretty deep thinkers, according to the scriptures, but we're thinking, I mean, it can't just be something where you got to sit right and all this stuff come together for you to get this. You know what I'm saying? So it was always something a little off about Kundalini for me. And then I started watching teachers like Muji, and this was about 2 or 3 years ago. And Muji, I always knew what he was speaking was truth, but Muji can never directly point that out to me. You know what I'm saying? So I started seeking the teachings of another Englishman. You're in UK, right?
Yes.
Yes. So I believe Rupert Spira is from the UK.
Oh yes, I've seen him speak.
Yeah. So I started watching some of Rupert's teachings, and he pointed more directly to what I was seeking. Just in a more, I seen his breakdowns as more clear. You know what I'm saying? Where he could direct you and take you straight to that experience. And so when I was watching his teachings, I can't even see. For me, it was never because I was always seeking. I always knew what it was. I could just never experience it. So for me, I can't even remember when I came into this understanding, because I knew I had it. I knew I had it by theory at one point. It had to happen within the last 6 months, because I had a vision at one time. I was listening to another brother named Jeff Foster.
Oh yeah,
right? I think he's out of the UK too. And so when I was listening to him, I had a vision. I have never had a vision before, but I had a vision that I was like this fisheye lens, and this river was just flowing with sticks and all things through it, and it was just flowing. And I'm like, man, I'm awakened after I had that vision. I told my brother, y'all seen it. And then that went away after a couple of days. I'm like, nah, I think I didn't get it.
Was that it? Was that it? No, that's not it. Was that it?
Yeah, that's not it. That's not it. So I don't know. Within the past, I don't know. It had to. I can't tell you the day, but I know that now I see that which I am. You know what I'm saying? And all else is but a passing form.
And always have been.
It had to. Yeah, and always have been. And was deceived. So I don't want this to be about me, but just your story when you was telling it reminded me so much of. It reminded me so much of me. But so another question is, go ahead.
Quickly comment on the Gita.
Yes.
Because because that relates to my awakening, if you want to call it that, too. Because I tried to read the Gita prior to any non-dual understanding I had when I was, call me a new ager or whatever, and it made absolutely no sense to me. I've heard of the Gita for years, since before I was, gave any since before I cared about spirituality. I heard of the Gita. Everyone's heard of the Gita. Tried to read it, and it just sounded like gobbledygook.
Mm-hmm.
This is supposed to be some enlightened teaching. Nah. This guy is like about to battle. Like, who cares? Like, it's it's not deep. But after my experience, I read the Gita again, and word for word, it was like it was mirroring my understanding. I read it so clearly. I was like, oh my goodness, this is about non-duality. This is about the self. This is about consciousness. This is about the illusion of free will. I mean, I did not get any of that before because my mind wasn't, of course,
ready
as wide as it is now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was more narrow. It was more I am me, you are you, we're separate. But since it expanded, it could, how can I say, it could receive more of the understanding of what it is. The more the mind expands into that which it already is in, consciousness, the more it can remember its vastness. The more it can remember what it is. It's not some incy weeny aspect. It thinks it is, as I'm sure you know, it thinks it's finite. But what's it made of? It's made of infinity.
Exactly.
So, you know, yeah. So yeah, I couldn't read the Gita before, but afterwards it was like reading the ABCs.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I mean, and it's the same with me. Like I said, I started in the Bible, and I want to go back to it just to show non-duality even in the Bible, because I don't hear it being taught a lot. But and now that I go back and read it, those things that I only tried to fit in a certain doctrine, it now makes sense to me. You know, all the things I couldn't explain, it all makes sense. Even Muji, you know, Muji, I knew he was teaching the truth, but he could never point me to what I was seeking, even though but now I watch Muji all the time again, and he speaks with such clarity that I was missing before. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it just wasn't for me to go, even though I watched Muji, I consider him my teacher along my journey. But
yeah.
He just couldn't point to me like Rupert did. And so now his teachings are clear to me. But
it's like I'm talking to myself right now. Well, I am on some level.
So another question is, okay, were you ever brought up in any religions or no?
Was I brought up by any religions?
Yes.
Technically, yes. I mean, I was christened. So, you know, I was a Christian. But I had no say. I was a baby. So, you know, so yeah, I was raised, I say that very loosely, raised Christian because my parents were never hardcore Christians. Never.
Okay.
Even to this day. It was more because their parents, you know, told them they're Christian, you know. They've never spoken to me about Christianity. I did go to a Saturday school, which was a Christian school when I was, I don't know, maybe 8, 9 years old. I can't remember. For a little while. But basically, no, you know, I wasn't really raised religious. You know, we have a Jesus, it's a Jesus statue, small one, in my parents' house, but you know, they don't pray to it or anything.
Yeah. Okay. So, when dealing with people who are not privy to awareness, do you have any methods to point people to, you know, to seeing that which they are?
You know, it's interesting because upon awakening, I have to take this backwards a little bit. upon that which we call awakening, you realize all is happening as it is happening. I mean, there can be no other way. For there to be another way, that would mean something could have an influence on consciousness, but there is only consciousness. Just as if we talking on the mind level, if we're going to kick a football, you know, the football needs the kicker. It needs the person to kick the ball. But consciousness, to go back to a high level, consciousness is all there is. So there can be nothing that could influence it. So if I'm holding my phone like this, it's not my choice. It's just happening. So when trying to help people see the nature of that which they are, whether they understand or not, I know within my being that it's the way it's supposed to be. You know, there can be no other way. So, and this is beautiful because it allows you to be at peace and not be frustrated by appearances. Appearances, we have no control over them, you know. So I like people to go back to your question more directly. I like to one of my I'm laughing because the questioning is so powerful when I speak to people about not having free will, for example. You can imagine, you know, especially if it's a religious person, you can imagine the response I get. What do you mean there's no free will? There's this little bit. So I was like, okay, well, let's look at that, you know. So my first pointing generally is that of thoughts, starting with thoughts. When we see and when we're sincere with ourselves that we have no control over thoughts, they are just appearing and disappearing, that we cannot be a thinker of them. So if we are not a thinker of them, what are we? You know, then that obviously opens up another can of worms. Or they will say, oh, I'm a soul, usually. Then I would say, so what knows you're a soul? And then they'll say, no, I'm my spirit. I've had someone say this to me, a Christian preacher, priest and preacher. It's the spirit that knows I have a soul. So he said he's a person who has a soul who has a spirit. So, so I said, okay, and where do you perceive this spirit? How do you know you're a spirit? And of course he says, mind. You know, it's just we need to understand that we perceive all appearances in that which we call mind. So if the spirit exists within mind, this is the same for God too. God as the entity God in the biblical teachings. If God can fit in your mind, then what are you? You know, then what are you? You know, so yeah, it's getting people to understand that thought. Firstly, I'd like them to try to understand that thought is not a personal object to you. Thoughts are just an activity of consciousness. It's just movement, you know, and thoughts come and go. So if thoughts come and go, what is that which stays? What observes the coming and going? You know, because of course in life we just don't take the time to stop and think about that. Like, no, it's my thoughts. I thought this, I thought that. Not realizing it's a thought that said I thought that.
Exactly.
You know, so yeah, my first pointing is always starts with thoughts, you know, trying to help people see that thought is not as personal as it seems, you know. Thought is great. Thought just is what it is, but it's not a personal object, because the person is also a thought themselves. And a thought, so if the person is also a thought, the idea of a personhood, if they are a thought too, then how can a thought know of another thought?
Mm-hmm.
That cannot be, because we only have a thought at a time.
Exactly.
A thought cannot occur to another thought. So going to thoughts for the truth, going to thoughts for understanding is always going to be, it's going to be extremely relative truths, because thought is that which, we perceive. So yeah,
definitely.
thoughts are, it's thoughts that keeps us believing we're separate. Thoughts are running the world, basically.
Exactly.
We think that, we have world leaders. No, the world leaders is thought.
Yeah. Oh man, that's great, because I have this conversation with my wife as well, and I try to point to her, because she'll tell me that she controls some thoughts.
I've
I
heard
say,
that.
she'll tell me that think that I want to get up. That's what I'm thinking. Okay, I want to get up, then I'll get up. And so, sometimes I just let it go, because I don't want to harp on it too much.
Yeah.
But it's funny that how people, think that they control their thoughts. It's just funny. So
yeah, it's a huge sticking point.
Yeah, it is. It is, because that if you control your thoughts, then you are an entity, or you are a body mind, basically. I believe you are.
So I didn't hear that.
I said, if you are, then you are basically a body mind that controls your that feeds into the belief that they are, if you can control your thoughts.
Sorry, it's breaking up a bit.
Can you hear me? I'm breaking
It's breaking up a bit. Yeah, it wasn't that smooth.
Okay, am I clear now?
Right now, yes.
Okay. No, I was saying that thinking you can control your thoughts leads to the belief, or it helps strengthen the belief that you are a separate person.
Yes.
And so, yeah, so that's a key to break down, even controlling your thoughts.
Yes, indeed.
So another question I have is, this is from a religious point, but it still deal with spirit or consciousness. In the Bible, it says, Jesus says, the truth shall set you free. Right?
Yes.
So what does truth set you free from? That's my question.
The belief you are a separate entity. The belief that, first of all, for something to be true, something to be truth, would have to be always true. So then we have to look at what is always true. Because, of course, a thought cannot always be true, because it changes. You could, for example, you could, like, to use a sports analogy again, you could say, this is the best tennis player in the world. That's a thought. Next day, no, actually, the best tennis player is this person. It changes all the time. Thoughts, perceptions, appearances change all the time. They can never be truth. They can never be the unchanging truth. But what is unchanging truth, of course, is that which these thoughts are appearing to, or within, however we wish to conceptualize it. So the truth Jesus is speaking of there is that unchanging truth. You know, because one of the things with this journey, the spiritual path, so to speak, is people's minds expect something really, really difficult to figure out. Something like you have to meditate for 10 years. You have to sit under a tree and talk to a burning bush to awaken, and eat carrots, you know. But essentially, you are always that, you know. So when people are pointed to the unchanging truth, which is that which all experiences are known to, they say, no, that's not it. That's not truth. No, that's just my awareness. That's just my awareness, you know. But not taking time to see that it's not your awareness. It's just awareness, or it's just consciousness, or it's just source, or it's just God. God has many names, you know. So that truth, that truth has to be unchanging. So if we look within our experience, the only thing we find that is unchanging is that we are always aware. We are always aware, you know. For us to be unaware, we'd have to be aware that we are unaware.
Definitely.
You just can't get out of it. You just always consciousness, you know, and this reveals our eternity, our immortality, you know, the essence of us, of course, not the body, not the sensations. They come and go. But the essence of us is that unchanging, unwavering, immortal, eternal, all that there is. Not too shabby.
Definitely. Okay, so that was a beautiful answer. Now, as I was watching your videos, you said in one of your videos, astrology cannot affect you. Right? Now you're going to the New Ages. Okay, the New Ages, you're gonna make them mad with this statement. which was a brilliant statement, I thought. When it was a brilliant title as well. So,
that's funny.
And you know, I understand you're referring to the finite being, but can you expand on that more for people who might tune in? How does because you know even people in the people always I'm a Libra, I act this way, or,
Yeah.
So just expand on that if you will a little bit.
No doubt. I'm laughing because, of course, I knew making that video that it will affect a lot of the spiritual community, because a lot of the spiritual community is founded upon astrology, on stars, on the sun, on the moon. People literally say, I am stardust.
Yeah.
People literally say, I'm an Arcturian from planet Arcturia. I don't know, I'm making that last bit up, but as as I'm pointing to, it's again, people have been raised to believe that they are small, they are tiny, they are insignificant from the perspective of the universe, because there's billions of other planets, billions of other species, billions of other universes and galaxies. So who are we? We're this little specks in the universe. This is the model that has been propagated everywhere. Well, in most of the so-called modern world. But if we actually take a time to look at it, to really look at our experience, what is our experience? We find that, it's always the same answer, that all appearances, by definition, are appearing to something. So if I'm saying it's a sunny day. That's an appearance, appearing to something. If I say there's a star, that star is appearing to something. If I say there's a galaxy, if I say I went in a spaceship and flew to planet Zod, now that experience would be no more, no less an experience that is still perceived by something. We don't know what this thing is. We can't point to it, of course, but something. And of course, the thing I'm referring to is awareness, pure awareness, just consciousness. It doesn't matter what so-called galaxy you go to. It's still just an appearance. So that which is aware of these experiences cannot be in the experience. If that which you essentially are was in the experience, experience could not happen. Because there needs to be a reporter, you could say, that, okay, this experience is happening. My hand is raising. Yeah. I'm the observer of that. Just as playing a computer game, playing Street Fighter, you know, one character could not say, oh, it's a sunny day today. There has to be the observer outside of the experience to say, yeah, it's sunny on that stage. So no matter how far we go with thoughts of galaxies billions of years away, universes billions of years away, it's still perceived in mind. It's still perceived in mind. It's still just an appearance, you know? And what it actually shows, I think I said this in my video, but what this actually shows, what astrology does show us, is that for us to be able to even conceive such vastness in the space, for us to even to be able to conceive it, that just goes to show how vast, how epic our minds are. They're not this small little thing. They can stretch to as far as they need to stretch. As I said before, if you can tell me that you had an experience of God, that experience is still existing within your mind. And of course, we know essentially there is no mind, it's just consciousness itself. You know, so whether we say I'm a Libra, I'm a Leo, etc., these are just appearances. These are just thoughts. These are just. This is fun. Consciousness playing with itself. To say I'm this character, I'm that character. There's no difference saying you're a Libra, you're a Aquarius, to saying you're a Leon or you're an Anna. They're all just characters. You know, if your name right now was Anna, you'd be acting differently. You know, if your name was Benjamin, you'd be acting differently. If I say you're Aquarius, you're gonna act a certain way. You know, the body mind latches onto labels. It is a label itself. It can only function by labeling. You know, and each label obviously has its certain expression. So there is no person, you cannot find a person to be affected by a star sign. Because the person itself is not the essential witness to the experience. The person itself is a character. Because we take it for granted, or people take it for granted, that I am me. But no, this me is a character. You know, so it's not something to just like that can be digested instantly, but essentially anything you experience is being perceived by the experiencer. When we find out what that is, we realize we were never in the experience. So the experience of being a Taurus is not what you are. It's just an experience to be experienced.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's excellent. Yeah, because my wife is into that type of stuff. So, but she also knows that she is not the body and mind as well, because I don't know if she knows it through experience, but because I tell her, I point her to these things at times. So I believe, she has a vague understanding of that, but she still likes to deal, she still likes to deal with the horoscopes and things of this nature, which is fine with me.
Yeah, it's fine.
So, definitely. So you already basically broke down my next question, which was you said that the universe is not as vast as you believe it is, but it exists in a single thought. So you pretty much expounded on that, how the universe is it's a single it's a single thought in your mind, that you perceive is bigger than you. You understand, or vaster than you. But you are actually
you believe
the
it
one.
is, yeah.
Yeah, but you are actually the one that holds it. You understand?
Hello.
So another thing, another video you had that, and this when I heard this one, I had heard another teacher hit on it, but I just like the clarity that you brought, which is the brain does not create consciousness. Okay.
Oh boy.
Man, that right there is a great topic for seekers, especially in non-duality. But materialist thinkers, automatically assume the Big Bang happened, which formed creation. Out of the earth formed man, out of the man formed the brain, out of the brain formed consciousness.
Consciousness, yeah.
So
magic.
magic.
It's like magic.
Yeah. So again, with this title of your video, you have just went against the creators of materialism.
Yes.
So expound on how the brain does not create consciousness and how it is not before consciousness.
Okay. So yeah, I mean that video yeah, I wanted to speak on it because I'm every video I put out is to help any other seeker. It's all from love. It's all heart centered. It's not ego at all. Just to put that out there, it's consciousness just acting through me as it's acting through you, as it's acting through all. So the thought to do that video was saying that there are many spiritual teachings on the internet that go far, go deep, but then still say the brain created all of this. In other words, still saying matter is God, but essentially without realizing that they're saying it. So, I mean, for the brain, I don't know how it started, the whole idea of the brain being the center of everything in the body, like the controller of everything in the body. But for the brain to be the creator of consciousness, the brain, of course, would have to live to exist outside of consciousness to create it. If you're going to create a clay model, you're not in the clay model, you're outside of it, creating it. When we create, we have to be able to see all of it, to fashion it in whatever way. There is no evidence at all of a brain outside of consciousness. I mean, to say outside of consciousness is a weird statement anyway. because you'd have to be conscious that you are outside consciousness to say, oh, there's the brain. Okay. I think I said in a video, if we were to cut our heads in a certain way and be able to touch the brain, we wouldn't be touching a brain. We'll be touching, we'll be not even touching, we'll be aware of sensation only. If we're going to take it, you know, as experience, your thought can just label it brain as it does. Labels are not what the thing is. Labels label that which existed already. So we'll be aware of the sensation, a squiggy sensation, squishy. And then we'll say that's the brain. But if the brain is inside the head, we know that the brain is inside the head. So if the brain is inside the head, creating experience, that would mean that the head is inside the head. Which makes no sense. Okay, if you're experiencing yourself, I'll say it again in case anyone didn't understand that. If you're experiencing touching your head, anyone can just touch the head, assume you have arms. So this experience, according to materialism, is saying that this experience is happening inside the brain. But we know for certain that the brain is within a head. We've never seen a brain independent of a head that is working, right? The brain is in the head. So we know the location of the brain. We don't know the location of pure consciousness, awareness, because of course there is no location. We know the location of the brain is in a head. So every time you touch your head, what these scientists are trying to tell you is that the experience of touching your head is happening inside another head somewhere. Because brains are in heads, you know? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah, I understand.
It's crazy. And I don't say that to bring anyone down. It just is a crazy line of thinking. You know? So when we understand that the brain itself is just a sensation or perception, thus exists within thought, in mind, it's no different to the perception of a sunny beach, the perception of someone laughing. They are all known. They are experiences that are known. So that which knows them is, of course, prior, because their sensations, the knowing of the sensations and perceptions, arise to this knowing. The brain is no different. We give it extra credit, but it doesn't deserve it.
Exactly.
It's like, I think I heard someone say, I think it was a non-dual teacher called Francis. It's like there's a ballerina show, okay, a dance performance. At the end of the performance, you know, the ballerinas dance beautifully. At the end of the performance comes a clown. Clown just trods onto the stage, walks, and takes a bow as if he had anything to do with the performance. That's what we're doing with the brain. The brain is taking credit when it doesn't even exist as we believe it does.
Yes.
You know, it's taking credit for what consciousness is doing. What consciousness is. It is consciousness, of course, but it's not the creator of it. But it's no more consciousness than a fingernail is consciousness, than a bird is consciousness. Like I said at the start, there was no ups and downs. There's no hierarchy. There's no a mountain is more special than a blade of grass. There is no a singer is more special than someone who cannot sing. There is only equality because there's only consciousness. There's no second substance for consciousness to be equal to.
Exactly.
And if we're all forms of it, we are all just that.
Definitely. That's funny. That's funny because when you said when you said the brain is no different, right when you said that, I was thinking a fingernail, and you said a fingernail. That's funny. But
Of course, all forms, just to clarify, of
yeah,
course,
yeah, all forms.
all the forms
There's
have
there
specific functions. Of course, this is clear.
exactly.
You know, a
Yeah,
phone has a function, but the essential nature is what I speak of all things
definitely.
is consciousness. Yeah, just the essential nature.
Yes, yes. That was a great explanation. Now I just have a few more questions.
No problem.
One is about, well, I'm gonna have two questions, and they deal with pretty much the same thing. Have you heard of pantheism before?
Say again, please.
Pantheism. Have you heard of pantheism?
Oh, yes.
Okay, now this is one of the things that gets mixed with non-duality a lot. Now, pantheism, excuse me, is, can you explain the difference between pantheism, which a lot of people, because I come from a religious background, so I deal with a lot of religious people, often tell me, man, that's pantheism, which I never really studied pantheism. So I can't say it is or it isn't. I've only looked up a definition of it, and it says that it believes that, I think it said all things are God or something. I'm not sure. I think it said something to that effect.
Okay.
So what I wanted to ask you is, what is the difference between pantheism and non-duality? Because I believe pantheism worships nature. From what I've seen, they worship nature, which,
Worship nature.
yes, as God, or somebody was, even though all is God,
So you're breaking up a bit.
all is not. Oh, I'm sorry. Am I clear?
Sorry.
Can you
Yes.
hear me?
Uh.
It's breaking up a little
Yeah.
bit. All right, I'll wait a
Still
second.
it's still breaking a bit. Yeah. I need to hear what you're saying now.
Okay, no problem. Just let me know when I'm clear, and I'll continue. It's still breaking up. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
I can hear you.
Okay, so what I was saying is pantheism, from what I understand, is a worship of nature as God.
Okay.
But although, from my understanding, although I understand nature to be an expression, or it's really all consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, if you're to worship my body is not the knower. My mind is not the knower. You understand? So manifestation is not, or things manifested are not conscious. It's that which is behind it all that is awareness. So that's just from my understanding. Or
Sorry.
it's
It's breaking
which
up.
is,
It's breaking up a bit. I'm not getting
all
every
right.
word you're saying. Yeah. It's lagging a
Okay,
bit.
I'll wait. I'll wait a second. Hold on.
I heard you say you believe pantheism is worshiping nature, I think you said.
Yes.
And the body is not the observer, did you say?
I said the material world is not the observer.
Okay.
So although all the creator or consciousness, that which perceives is not the body, is not the mind. You understand? And so I just want you to explain your understanding of the difference between pantheism and non-duality.
So, yeah, you said the pantheism deals with the material, or the material is not the observer. Sorry, it cut out again. I'm trying to hear you.
No problem. I think, I'm not sure what it is, but when I looked up the definition, it said that pantheism is the belief that the universe is God. Did you hear that?
I didn't hear exactly, but if I just go with
yeah, hold on. Give me a second. I'm gonna try to fix this. I'm not sure what's going on because I hear you
it was
clearly.
fluid a while ago.
Yeah, I know. I'm not sure what's going on. Just if you could, while can you hear me? It's still breaking up.
Yeah, it's breaking up bad now.
Give me 1 second. I'm sorry.
Okay. No problem.
All right. Hello.
Hi.
Is everything clear for right now?
Right now it's clear.
All right. So what I was saying is basically, okay, that basically pantheism. I mean, I'm not too familiar with it because I haven't looked into it. But basically, what I did read is that it deals with thinking that the universe is God. That was the first definition, which is a true statement in a sense. But what I was saying is that the universe is not the one that is breaking up.
It did a little bit, but carry on.
Okay. So what I was saying is that it's not it's not the physical manifestation that is the conscious which is, although all is the screen of life.
I think I know what you're getting at.
The screen is independent from the manifestations on the screen. You understand? And that's how I see it. So I just wanted to get, what is your understanding of both?
I mean, yeah, I don't know the exact definition of pantheism, but just going with what you said, to believe or say that all is God, yes, is a true statement. It depends on what one is saying when they say God. You know, are they saying God as in an entity? As in, like, for example, a blade of grass has its own will, its own mind that can do things? Or are they saying it as in the non-dual understanding, which is God is no thing. You cannot find God, you cannot see God. You know, not the essence of God, that is. You know, so it depends how they're saying it, but to worship nature I mean, it's not a bad thing. You know, nature is the reminder that it's the reminder of the perfection of consciousness, in that a waterfall will just run, grass will grow, fire will burn, everything will do what it's supposed to do. Fire will not suddenly become water. You know, everything just is what it is. Nature teaches us that. You know, like I said, I don't know the exact definition of pantheism, but as long as it's saying that there is no person that is appreciating nature, they're along the right lines. Because if they still believe they are separate entities appreciating nature and saying that nature is God, then that is not the same. Because the person, aka ego, is illusory. You know, it's illusory. It's transient. We cannot be a transient being. What we are cannot be here and then not here. Here, then gone the next minute. So if they believe it, if it's saying that we people are separate entities living in God's nature, then it wouldn't be my understanding, from my experience. From my experience, the person itself is an experience. I'm experiencing the person every day, every moment. And it's amazing. The person is a part of nature. It's not just nature is out there. There is just nature. How can something be unnatural to consciousness?
Exactly.
You know, again, that would mean that something would have to come outside of consciousness. There can only be that which is natural to consciousness, because there can only be consciousness. So, yeah, I mean, it seems like it goes fairly deep, but not. I don't think it takes account for what the person is. Because if it's saying, as I said, if it's saying that it's your person, me, Tiger, appreciating the world, it's not actually that. Your consciousness observing Tiger that believes it's observing the world. You know, you're observing a story. You're observing a story of, you know, this character Tiger went to the park and ate some grapes. You know, I mean, that was one of the, as I said before, that was one of the first things I realized with my so-called awakening, was that I don't exist in the way that I thought I did. When there's a thought, yes, this character exists. But the thought comes and goes. I'm that which is that has always been here. And there is no there as well. It was only here. There is a concept. You know? Well, there is a concept within concept, because of course everything we say is conceptual.
Exactly.
We can only speak in concepts. Nothing is absolutely true that is spoken in words. So, yeah, when we understand that we are no thing observing God's playground, then yes, that's a good way to understand that you are the eternal, unaffected by experiences, essentially.
Okay. Definitely. Now, you also have one on solipsism and non-duality, which solipsism is the belief that
yeah,
you know, because a lot of philosophers, especially in the so-called medieval times, you know, like the quote, I think, therefore I am, you know, and things of this nature. So solipsism, the first time I heard the word is I was talking to this guy who was, I think it was about a flat Earth or a globe Earth conversation we were having.
A what conversation?
And he
Sorry.
says a conversation about a flat Earth.
Oh,
Have you
okay,
heard them
okay.
conversations?
Oh yeah, I used to be one of them people.
Yeah. So so he said yeah. I forgot what we were talking about, but I said if you haven't experienced it, how do you know it's true? And he said, "Oh, you a solipsist. You know, you just believe it, if it only exists in your experience, that it got to be true. You know." And so I didn't even know what the word meant at that time, so I had to look it up. You know, and so you have, you know, one, and I've heard. I think Francis. I heard Francis talk. Maybe it was Francis or Rupert talk about solipsism and non-duality. So, what's your understanding on the difference between both?
Sorry, say that again. It broke up.
What's your understanding on the difference between solipsism and non-duality?
What's the difference between solipsism and non-duality?
Yes.
Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Um, I always smile when someone brings up solipsism in reference to non-duality because I can see where the mixture gets created because it seems just when you just like hear it quickly that it's the same thing. Only I exist. But there is a major difference, in fact. The difference being solipsism says I am the only person, thus I am the only mind that exists. How can I know that I am not the only mind that exists? But mind, again, is thought. You didn't think that thought. You think you thought that thought. It's a thought that says you thought that thought. You
Mm-hmm.
know, for a thought to say, maybe it's just me that exists. Maybe. Okay, that's fine. One can have these thoughts. But again, a thought knows nothing. This is another huge understanding that we need on this seeking because we believe that thoughts know things, or which is the mind, that the mind knows things. The mind knows nothing. The mind does not know anything. The mind is just
Mm-hmm.
an object that is perceived. You know, so that which the thoughts are known to, of course, is that what we call pure awareness. That is the only true knower, you know. So there is no one mind that all comes out of because the mind itself is just a thought. Mind is here, gone the next minute. Non-duality is saying that there is not one mind, there can be many minds. There is one consciousness. This is the huge difference. One consciousness with many expressions emanating from within it, as it. Just as one would have a dream. I said this to someone today, actually. Just as someone would have a dream and believe they are speaking to many people. Now, all of these people in the dream would say, I have my own consciousness. I am. I have my own mind. Everyone would say that in the dream. Yet, what they don't realize, and they couldn't realize, is that they all share the same I. And that I is the mind, the thought. Of course, we wake up and realize, oh, it's just a dream. And a
Mm-hmm.
dream is just thought, it's just mind. So all those people believe they had separate consciousnesses, separate minds, shared the same I of the dreamer's mind. So it's the same in a so-called waking state. We believe we have separate minds, separate consciousnesses. Okay, there are different minds, yes, but we believe we have separate consciousnesses. But each arising of mind, of course, is taking place in consciousness. How do we know this? Because we can all say, I am. I am is the signature of consciousness in the waking state. I am. Everyone can say this. So everybody is consciousness. Everybody knows they are consciousness. You know? So one consciousness, as we see with mind, can create the many, can create many forms. Just as a dream can create many forms within it. But a thought cannot create anything. Mind does not create anything. It is just perceived. So again, to say I, from the solipsism worldview, to say only I exist or maybe only I exist is thought trying to take charge, trying to be more important than it really is. It's just a thought. It's not a big deal. That thought, as we know, as we said, is appearing to something else that is not a thought.
Exactly.
You know? Exactly. So solipsism is saying only I exist, but that's just a thought. Thoughts come and go. That can never be true. But the one consciousness model is fairly self-evident. Not fairly, it is self-evident. Because everyone can say, I am conscious. Everyone can say, I am. You know?
That's right.
Everyone can say, my experience takes place in mind. And then everyone can agree that mind is simply that which is known. That which is known can not be known itself. That is the pure consciousness. You know, so non-duality is pointing at the single consciousness. Solipsism is trying to say there is a single mind, which cannot be.
Okay. You know, I mean, you were clear, but it's a little breaking up on my end. So let me ask you this last question before we depart. A lot of people ask, you know, will there ever be peace on Earth? Will there ever be peace on Earth? And this is what you hear a lot. And a lot of people who are, you know, religious tend to ask this question. Am I still clear or breaking up?
I heard you say, will there ever be peace on Earth? And then you broke up.
Yes. All right, well, let me just stop with that before I keep breaking up. Well, you could answer that.
Oh, so I'll just answer that. Will there ever be peace on Earth?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. To say, will there ever be peace on Earth, assumes that there's something called time, first and foremost, because it assumes a future. Will there ever be future? And it's in this thought of future, even past as well, but the thought of future, which traps people in fear. You know? So to think of the future, we could think of, oh, they may become World War III. They may become World War IV. They may become famine. They may become this, that, and the other. But if it's not happening right now, then it's not, then it's imagination, basically. Okay, so first of all, this question is assuming time, but there is only now. as for world, for there to be world peace, of course, this question, it can only be answered, on different levels. This is not a small question, hence you asked it last. You know, so the reason there isn't world peace is, of course, due to the lack of understanding that we are the same, that we are not the thinker of thoughts, that we do not have to take someone's money because a thought said so. We do not have to laugh at someone that fell over in the street because a thought said so, because a feeling said so. We do not have to. We do not have to say we are the best country. We don't need to even say there are countries because thought said so. We need to understand what we are essentially. When we understand what we are essentially, which is no thing, just pure consciousness, there can be peace. But to say will there, again, that's talking about future. But I understand, of course, we have to, use words. We have to use words. But consciousness needs, from consciousness's point of view, this is the thing, from consciousness's point of view, which is the only view there is, what other view could there be? As I said at the start, in response to another question you posed, everything is happening according to how it's supposed to be happening. For something to happen against consciousness, or you could say God's so-called will, would mean a thought, that's all we are, all the person is, a thought somehow has power over that which is perceiving it. That would be like saying the space around us could lose a fight with a fist. Mm-hmm. Of course, that's not going to happen because the space has no physicality at all, just as pure consciousness has no physicality. So from consciousness's point of view, which is the only true point of view, everything can only be happening according to how it's supposed to happen. So from that point of view, everything is, I don't want to say the word perfect, but mm-hmm. Everything is happening how it's supposed to be happening.
Exactly.
Okay. World peace, I don't see how it cannot happen. I don't see how it cannot happen because unbeknownst to all minds on earth, they have one sole purpose, which is to find happiness. Because that happiness is the echo of their eternal happiness, of the pure consciousness self that they are. Mm. At some point, and I can even see within appearances in this Maya, in this world, that things are changing. Scientists, for example, are becoming more conscious of non-duality. There is no way that the world is not going to refine its true essence of love. It might not happen today. It might not happen tomorrow. But I don't see how it cannot happen. Mm-hmm. We are constantly heading towards peace. Whether it's peace in death because there is no death, that's an illusion.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's peace in the waking state, we are always constantly going towards peace.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only destination. You know, whether you, like I say, whether you have an awakening in the waking state, awakening state, or you live life and then fade back into the all that you are, aka death, you will find peace. You can only, do you understand what I'm saying? You can only find
Yep.
peace. So, in other words, what I'm saying is all beings, no matter what they're going through, no matter what their circumstances right now, will find peace. It's the only option. Happiness is the only option. We can go up and down, left and right, through different experiences. But at the so-called end, or even during waking state, we will find peace. Everyone. Because death is not end. Death is not the end. Death is becoming and standing as that pure, imperturbable, peaceful consciousness that you've always been.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just like I like to tell people, people think, the opposite of death is life. But what I understand is the opposite of death to be birth. And they're both experienced in life. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So I like how you put that as well as, as peace. That's what all men seek. So am I clear or no?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I had to move. That's why I'm trying to get it more clear. But I like how you put that you don't see how it cannot happen because that's what all men seek, whether they know it or not. Whether they're seeking it through a beer, whether they're seeking it through women, whether they're seeking it through going to a club, everybody's seeking happiness, which eventually leads to peace.
Yeah.
So,
because that's what they essentially are.
exactly.
It's the echo within mind that is reminding them, wait a minute, I'm not suffering. Let me get back some of my happiness. And as I say, one way or another, they will find it. Whether in life or in the transition, in other words, death.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And so I was gonna end with that because this computer is acting funny. But I wanted to ask one more question since I'm a little clear. You have one more video that speaks on why does God create suffering? I think that was the topic, right?
Yeah.
So just speak on that a little bit because a lot of people, especially from the background I come from, the devil is the cause of suffer, God is the cause of good. Understand? So just expound on why does suffering happen?
Okay, so first of all, I have to say that I have a book on Amazon, Why God Allows Suffering, Revealing God's Innocence. Where I go deeper into this big question. When we believe God is an entity, we come into all sorts of problems, all kinds of issues. Believing that it's an entity with options to choose these people over these people, to overlook tragedy, only look at good stuff, to let you suffer, consciously let you suffer. But this is an imagination of God. There's no evidence of this God. So people bring themselves into anger or frustration rather with this being they called God without any good basis or reason to do so other than imagining that there's a God sitting somewhere in the universe ignoring suffering. But when we understand that God is not an entity, by definition, if God was an entity, it would be finite.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of God can have a form? A form is limited. What kind of God could have preferences? If a God had preferences, that would mean this God, which is supposed to be powerful, is subject to thought.
Mm-hmm.
I like these guys, not these guys. I like how this woman is dressing. I don't like how these women are dressing.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of God could not overcome thought? That would make him just like us. So what they're not seeing is that which we call God is not an entity. That which we call God is just the simple, to conceptualize, I'll say, space that just allows experience to flow. This is why there is no right or wrong from the highest point of view understanding, because it's all subjective. One mind will say this is right, another mind will say this is wrong. They will both come up with reasons why they're both right. But that which is allowing the conflict, even the disagreement, the various thoughts to arise, is unbiased. It must be unbiased because it's allowing different thoughts to manifest, which is how a God should be. It shouldn't say you guys are gonna burn. You guys okay, but you guys are gonna burn. Why would it get involved? That would mean again it's subject to thought. It's subject to preferences, subject to emotions.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of God could not overcome its feelings, personal feelings? God is simply awareness, it's simply consciousness, it's simply that which allows all manifestations to happen, to thrive. It's that which allows all experiencing to happen. It's that which is pervading our world. It's so close to the objects. It's always here, but it cannot be seen because it is no thing. Just as the space in your room cannot be seen, but it is allowing your building to stand. It is allowing your building to be where it is. It allows you, your form, your body form, to walk, to move. If the space around you had some type of will to stop you when you're about to go to the toilet, to stop you when you're about to eat a certain thing, what kind of space would that be? There wouldn't be space. That would be an entity. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm laughing because it's just a crazy thought, but this is what people are basically saying, that
Yes.
there is this entity that interferes with experience. That's okay, but it's not God. You can have that imagination, you can have that distortion, but don't say that's God, you know? And when
Yeah.
we look at it, the awareness with which we use, so to speak, we are that, to know experiences is imperceivable. It cannot be seen. So if it cannot be seen, if all knowledge is known to it, if it's not a form, thus cannot fade or die, if it has no wants or desires, if it is completely still, it's so still that it recognizes stillness, how is that not God?
Mm-hmm.
It's so before all concepts, that it's even before the concept of an entity called Jehovah, called Allah.
Mm-hmm.
Like I say to religious people sometimes, if God is infinite, and then I point to them and say, you're telling me you are not God, then instantly you're telling me that this God
It's
is
finite.
not all powerful, it's finite.
Mm-hmm.
How can it be everywhere but here and there and there and there and there? You know, it's just, yeah, so people have the wrong understanding of what God is by saying it's an entity, an alien.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. I mean that was a beautiful, like I said, explanation.
Thank you.
And it's just like you said, everybody's not going to receive it because it's really not meant for everybody to receive at the time you give it.
Indeed.
And that's
It
what
can only be how it is.
exactly. It can only be how it is, and that's what um, the spirit or consciousness is teaching me. You know, or
Yes.
teaching this body mind.
Mm.
Should I say. So yeah, I really appreciate you coming on.
Oh, I appreciate you
Um,
having me.
yes,
Thank you.
it's been a pleasure. It's been a blessing. Hopefully, everybody who hears it, those who have ears to hear will hear it, and those who don't, it was meant to happen. Yeah, it won't. So again, I just thank you for coming on. Hopefully, maybe in what is called the future, we can have another discussion because I enjoyed this.
Yeah, me too. No doubt. That'll be good.
All right, brother. So we'll be signing off. Make sure to check Amazon. The brother he said a couple of books. One of his books I mentioned in the beginning, which was A Journey to Your Buddha Nature. Is that correct?
That's right. That's interesting, actually, that you mentioned that, because just for anyone listening, that book was written as I was awakening. So it's kind of like a mixture of the so-called New Age and the non-dual. Whereas my latest book, title, revealing God's innocence, is post, awakening. So it's interesting to see the contrast in how I write in the two
Definitely.
books.
Okay. So definitely, anyone listening, check those books out. Also, check out his YouTube page, Tiger Dragon Storm. He has a lot of good content on there, and hopefully you can learn a thing or
Appreciate
two.
that.
No
Thank you,
problem.
brother.
So thank you for your teachings, for your words today, and I'll continue to listen. So
Glad to hear it. Thank you.
yes, definitely. So with that, we'll be signing off. Thanks to all the listeners. Till next time.